Hello everybody. I'm going to do a little overview video, a little introduction to me and what I'm doing with these videos and why I'm doing it and whether or not I'm qualified to talk about the things I am talking about, but mainly about what I hope that you will get from these videos. Okay, so let's start with that, shall we? I'll give you the background stuff afterwards, but let's start with what I hope you will gain from these videos. I hope by the end of watching some of my videos you'll feel fabulous about being you. Okay? That you'll maybe know yourself a little bit better. That maybe you'll be able to take a step back on yourself and consider what you think you know. I really, really hope you'll be a better friend to yourself having watched some of my videos. That's kind of a nice way to put it. And my kind of goal from this is that if you, dear viewer, feel nice about being you, and somebody else viewing the video also feels nice about being them, and bit by bit people start to understand what it is to be them, notwithstanding that I'm a tiny part in the universe and we're all tiny little specks of dust in the big expanse of things. Every little step forward has a positive impact on every part of the systems that we each touch, the people we interact with. And so naive though it sounds, you know, there is a bit of me that wants the world to be a nicer place. Okay, that's kind of the broad brush. How am I going to do that? Oh, in a whole variety of different ways, okay? I'm going to talk about a whole slew of different subjects, but they will all have a common thread. You know, you will have seen at the beginning of the video, it says authentic life, it says coaching, it says hypnosis. So my philosophy on people is that actually, as individuals, you, I, all of us, we're all working pretty well, right? In fact, we're working exceptionally well based upon the stories, the fixed ideas that are running inside of our head. You probably came to these videos because you had a goal or an interest in mind, okay? But as everybody who's ever driven from A to B knows, or has walked from A to B knows, in order to get to B, you have to know where you are starting from. Even with a map, you need to know where you are today. Okay. So part of what I'm going to be doing is helping you to own and question your current experience. Part of it will be little hints and tricks and tips about how to get more of what you like and less of what you don't like. Part of it will simply be questioning your version of reality and ultimately reshaping those stories, those fixed ideas inside of your head, which may be at the back of your mind, not at the front of your mind, so it might be a little bit more challenging to identify them. But to address those fixed ideas, to come up with more useful ones, more effective ones, in order to kind of improve life, okay? So none of that is to say that you need fixing, okay? I'm not going to describe a problem that you already have and how I have the solution. There'll be none of that, okay? I find that very manipulative. I'm very distrustful of people on Facebook and and YouTube and Instagram that are identifying the problem and then creating the solution to it. It's very much like a sort of a manipulative sales technique. I already reckon you're brilliant, okay? It's just that you might be brilliant in a particular direction that maybe you're not entirely choosing because it's been created and habituated through experiences from your past that actually you're not even sure because they just feel like you. And so my whole idea is to help people by getting them to question their reality and come up with better ways. That means, therefore, some of these videos are going to be kind of tongue-in-cheek. They're all going to be kind of fun, but some of the subjects might be tough, some of the subjects might be challenging, some of them might be just great fun. Some of them might be absurd, all right? What I'm trying to do is get people to own their state, own their reality, take responsibility, right? Taking responsibility to me is not the kind of the bog standard understanding of that word. For me, it is choosing your response, which means rather than running down the rails on autopilot, it's becoming aware of what is going on inside of you, taking the briefest of pauses and labeling that and questioning, is that, or what is it, and is that correct? What is my interpretation? What is the label that I am attaching to this? Okay? So it's all going to be about considering, reconsidering, reevaluating, staring yourself in the mirror, making fabulous friends with yourself. Because it's only when you're comfortable inside yourself that you can start to be comfortable with the rest of the world, that you can address the world in a constructive manner. You know? Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. That's why I'm going to do it. Who am I? Let's do a little bit on who am I. So as you can see, this is a different environment from many of the videos. So a lot of the videos I did when I was in Southwest America. So they're kind of red rock and blistering sunshine. That was just because I was at a hypnosis convention in Las Vegas, and so I kind of bolted on a tour to all of the beautiful, beautiful parts of the world whilst I was there. And I set myself this goal whilst I was doing that. Let's make at least one video every single day. You know, the idea was, well, let's have a beautiful background, let's have a subject which is beautiful and inspirational, and let's make the world a better place. Okay, that was kind of the broad idea. Now, what that's ended up creating is a whole repertoire of videos which appear to show that my natural environment is the red rocks of Sedona sort of thing, which is kind of not true. It just happened to be the context in which I was in when I started doing these videos. So I'm British, I'm not Swiss, but this is Switzerland, this is where I live. I'm very, very fortunate by that. And the reason I'm giving all these videos, and the reason I called my website and this YouTube channel Authentic Life, is because I think a lot of what I personally experienced was a sort of a fracture in the gap between my public and private persona, a sort of a, how do you want to call it, like a comfortable denial that I maintained because we need to maintain consistency with the story that we were projecting yesterday, sort of thing. And that, you know, without giving the whole game away, that can translate into parts of yourself that are no longer permissible. And you end up kind of living a lie, kind of living a facade for some unstated benefit that you haven't really digested in great detail, but that has something to do with external approval. And I kind of threw that away. I threw that, I completely destroyed it. I didn't know what on earth to do instead, but I knew that the keys to the kingdom were aligning myself with my truth, putting myself on a trajectory that was in alignment with my values, my principles, questioning everything that I thought it was to be me, the entire state of what my identity, the bedrock of what that was founded upon, and questioning. I did that for myself, okay? I just had a personal experience. I'm not saying that that is relevant to you at all, right? This is a statistical sample of one. But what happened when I made changes to myself was that the world responded, the people around me, the environment around me completely changed. And people started asking me my advice on things that I was utterly unqualified to give a response to. But years later, the end result is I'm now a hypnotherapist. There was no way in the world I would have labelled myself as any form of therapist whatsoever. That was not me. I was a salesperson. I was an official type of person, a professional type of person. And I've ended up following my heart and listening to the messages of myself and the messages of the universe, kind of thing. Please don't assume that I'm woo-woo. I'm very, very much a skeptic. I'm very much a sort of foot on the ground sort of guy. But you'll see as you go through my videos that there is a kind of a spiritual side to me that I would have never, ever, ever dared to, well, even acknowledge inside of myself, never mind express to the world. So kind of this idea of helping others kind of grab me by the collar and force me to pay attention. I did that gradually, bit by bit. The end result is now I have not only a sort of an internal experience, but I have the experience of working with all these clients that shows me what works, and I have all of the educative side as to, my hunger for knowledge as to what is going on and how to fix it. And some of that I can explain why it works. Other things, none of it do you need to understand why it works, but I'm a sort of a guy that likes to understand how these things work. So, some of it at sort of conscious level sounds a little bit strange. You could say that about the whole idea of hypnosis, in actual fact. I went into that with a healthy skepticism. But it feels amazing. And now an evangelist for things that I would never ever have put my name to, let's say. And the way that you do that is by throwing away your story and opening up to what things might be. Okay? So now, what have I done there? I've done why, I've done how, I've done who. I think that's sufficient. Yeah? That gives you a sort of a broad idea of who I am and where I'm coming from. The methodology by which I'm going to do these videos is not going to be particularly structured, okay? I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to miss things out. I'm going to overemphasize or underemphasize things. These are going to be unscripted because that's how life is, okay? That's what builds credibility. That's what builds trust, okay? If I read into a script based upon the words at the top of the screen, you're going to know, okay? You're going to know, and you're going to feel absolutely zero. And at the end of this, the only thing I care about is that you are moved, okay? That you feel something, that it causes change. You all know this, the kind of feeling that you have when you've seen a motivational speaker and you go, oh, wow, that was incredible. And then probably 3 or 4 days later, go back to doing exactly what you were doing before. So therefore, we're going to do a lot of these things. And if you want, you can watch one. Maybe the idea I'll do on kind of one every 3 or 4 days, something like that. We'll see, okay? I'm not promising. But the idea is to feel it. Feel it in your stomach, feel it in your heart. Give you practical tips, but get you inspired to making steps towards a better you, let's say, all right? I insist that you're doing things fantastically well already, but that if you can just kind of look at the person who's doing the doing, wow, you can do a lot more, yeah? So my whole goal is going to be getting people out of their story. So I'm going to do this in an unscripted manner, When I work with individuals one-on-one, I cannot plan too far. I cannot stick to a script. It does not work, okay? What happens is people in that how do you want to call it, that presential moment, in that immediate moment, bring up things which are real to them in that moment, and that probably have very little to do with what we discussed in a prior week. So if I come loaded with a structured plan based upon the ending of the previous week, well, then I'm going to hit way off target. Yeah? What I need to do with an individual is to listen, listen, and feel and sense and build rapport. Now, it's hard to build rapport with an unidentified viewership. So the more input that you can give back to me, the more I will give to you, right? Then the messages will be directed accordingly. So I really, really encourage you to communicate, even though it's kind of strange, you know. But therefore, what's going on these YouTube videos is going to be a sort of a mirroring of that. I'm going to kind of in my head pretend that someone's asked a simple question, and I'm going to respond to that. So if you give me the question, and even if it's a complicated question, give it to me, then we'll go down that. And certainly at the beginning, I've got 1,000 things that I can discuss, because there's no so queer as folk, right? There's an awful lot of stuff going on in people's minds. It's extraordinary. People are fascinating, right? To say they are multifaceted doesn't come close. So there is a unlimited amount of subjects to talk about. Okay, so that's kind of the way that it's going to unfold. So I apologize if I miss stuff out or if I make mistakes. Please cut me some slack. I'm doing my best, sort of thing, you know. I'm only human, like everybody. We'll do a talk on perfectionism at some point, so I can probably give a kind of a vivid explanation of that at that time. Voila, I think that'll do. Yeah, I hope that gives you a broad idea of my goals. Yeah, I kind of said I was going to say, am I qualified or not? So I've got my personal experience. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail on that. Maybe I'll do that in another video. But I have my personal experience of what worked for me. I have the experiences of what has unfurled with clients, and they're very difficult to generalize. You know, different people have very different stories running inside of their head, and so that's fabulous. Yeah, that means some of what I say to you is going to stick, and other bits you're just going to go, well, that's just not me. And that's okay. That's how it has to be. Yeah, there we go. All right. Thank you very much for watching this little introductory video. And I encourage you to subscribe, because I'm going to carry on populating this thing. Let's make a statement at the beginning, okay? Let's be courageous and say, I will publish 2 videos a week. Let's go with that. Yeah. On the condition that you contribute. If the world goes quiet, then maybe I'll stop. If the world tells me everything I'm doing is really, really bad, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do then, right? There's this mismatch then between what I think is good and what the world is telling you. You have to listen to the world, okay? That's, you know, authenticity may be following your own heart, but it's also receiving input. Maybe one day we'll do a discussion on face reading as well. Apparently, if your ears are pressed back, you're a good listener. So maybe I'll start pinning my ears back even further. Okay, let's have a bit of fun. Yeah, let's do some silliness. The best way to become a more fabulous version of you is to get out and play. It's to get out and play. It's to stop telling yourself what you're capable of and what you're not, and instead go and experience, right? Remember what it was like to be the younger you. Okay, I'll shut up now. As you can see, I talk a lot. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.